Okay, so we're going to divide the project into two parts. The second part is a little tricky. The first part is this area. It's really simple. The reason it's so simple, the first part, is because you basically take sentences like I love cats and you build a hierarchy with them. And then you take another sentence that you add and you're scanning for parts. So if you add a new sentence like I love dogs, then you add the word dog to the vocab and you use that part that's already saved. And so you save two sentences so far here and they're marked. And so you keep doing this. So you might have a sentence that says today I love cats, and then so you'd use that part there and keep building. When you're coding this, make sure that you comment good, you separate the parts, make it neat. So what we're going to do is part one. Alright, so first, create something called capsule that will hold a whole bunch of sentences off of the internet. We'll just get some sentences off of the internet and stick them in there. And so that just holds them. Alright, so the next part is we're going to stride through each letter until we get to a comma or a period. And once you do, you stop saving. And so you basically end up, from doing that, you ship over that first piece into here. You stop at the comma or the period. Now once we're done with that part that we took out of here, then we're going to go back to here and repeat this whole thing again. And we're going to stride up until the next comma or period. So the next part after that is we're going to look at the whole thing by a window. So we're going to do full window it, and you're going to count how many words are in it, 3, and then you're going to take the first word and the first letter of that word, C, and you're going to take how many letters make up that word, 4, and then so you can search this thing you create here, hierarchy grid, and it has a whole bunch of different sectors so that you can efficiently find what you're looking for. And so you have letter C for how long the first word is, and then 3. So C, 4, 3. So then you know to go to C. So like C, and then you go to 4, and then that would be 3 words long. So you'd go C, 4, and then to layer 3, and then you won't find it. When you do look for the cook n stored here, you're going to look at all of the IDs, because there's a whole bunch stored here alphabetically. So you go through each one checking if it's exactly a match. And so you go to the first ID and you check if it says cook n exactly, and if it doesn't, you keep looking. So then, now if the full window at first doesn't find it, then what you're going to do is, if it does find it, then you stop, because you found it. Now, if you don't find it, then we're going to shrink the window from the right, so that you just got from here to there. And then what you do is you do it again. So that's what this here is I drew. So then you take the word count 1, 2. You take the first word's first letter and how many letters it is, and then you do it again. And then you go to C, 4, and then 2 words long, and then you won't find it. So now you got this window here, and you stride it over by 1 word. And then so you got the window on here, and apple. And then so you do again. Now if you don't find it again, then you shrink the window from the left now, and now it's on just Apple. And then you take the first letter, and I'll do it again, and you look for it, and say Apple's 5 letters long, so you might see it here, you might not. If it's not, then you gotta add it to the vocab, and you gotta add it in. So then you might even have to add the word in. So now, say that you found cook in, and you didn't find apple, you made it, so now you got apple. So you found 2 parts. You got apple, and you found cook in hierarchy grid. In hierarchy grid, all the leaves are like words stored, and so if you go to B and you got 3-letter long words, you'll have a whole bunch of words like bin, bun, but, by, and they're in alphabetical order, which can be in frequency order, or whatever order you want, organized by. And so, but alphabetical. The nodes over here are memory pointers. So if when you do get the window on cook in, and you're looking for C, you go to C, you go here, and you go to here. What you do is, when you do look for the cook in stored here, you're going to look at all of the IDs, because there's a whole bunch stored here alphabetically. So you go through each one, checking if it's exactly a match. And so you go to the first ID and you check if it says cook in exactly, and if it doesn't, you keep looking. The way this works over here is every single node or feature stored in a sector in hierarchy grid, they have a whole bunch of numbers in that node. So say you go to C and 3-letter long words, and you go to so you're looking at a word, a leaf, and say you look, and a bunch of them organized alphabetically, so you pick this one. You'll have a whole row of numbers, and what they are is that you have 7 numbers, and then the rest of them are links. So the first 7 are the ID of that featured node. So the first one is ID. The second one is if it's a sentence, marked a sentence or not. So if it's marked a sentence, then it will be 1. That number will be 1. So then the third number is, say it's 4. And then what that is it says go up. So here's the amount of numbers, and these are example numbers right here, like, you know, like 22, 0, 4, da 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 da, and these are describing what those mean. You run through these from left to right. What you do is you don't store these or these, but you just store the numbers. So if you take any given feature, say this one, then it will always be made up out of 2 smaller nodes, except for the leaves. So if you take this one, it will have 2 reference links here, and it will tell you which ones make it up. And so all the other links that can keep growing in the array, it would be the ones that it makes up. So that one, and then some other one would make up one, and it might make up other ones. And so that's what those are. So first over here, say you have, says 4, go up, and so the legend would like work with this and know that. And so 4 up would mean the ones that make it up as sub. So if it says 4 up, then that means you would go up. So you go up 2 here if you were here. And then so the next one says target ID. So it would basically be telling you to go here and then target the ID here. And that's linking basically to a node. And then the next one here, 5. 5 says letter B. So it'd be telling you to go to letter B, column 2, and then target ID 6. So that would be telling you to go, say, to make up, it'd be telling you the letter, it'd be telling you the ID, it'd be telling you the column, and it doesn't tell you the where for the second reference over here, because you can determine which layer it is from the first reference link from it. So if it says, so basically if you have it saying to, look at this one here, so if it says to go up 2, then, and you know that this one here is in layer 4, then when you go over here, that last piece of info of which layer this reference links to, which node, the layer that node's in, can be determined by minusing it from here. So you're in layer 4, you go up 2, you're in layer 2, so then that's 2 words in this 4-word sentence, and then so 2 words are left, and then so you go over here and you know to go to A column, and then you know which layer because it should be layer 2. Now the way that would work on a bigger one would be, say you got a 10-word sentence, and then you go up 4. So then you know that there's 6 left. So the next reference will give you 6, and so it should be in layer 6. Okay, so the next one here, number 8, I marked, you might have M. So it says letter M, and that would be telling you that this node, which ones it makes up deeper. So it might say to go to M, and then number 9 here I marked would say column 2. And so what you basically do here is it would say go to letter M, column 2, and then the way the legend here works is it has to look for when something pops up. So if it reads M256, then that means that the link is telling you to go, basically, because it's telling you which node this node links to. It's one link. It's telling you to go, say, to here, because it gives you the letter, the column, and to go down whatever, and then the target ID. So again, that would be telling you to go to the letter over here, M. It'd be telling you the column. It'd be telling you the layer, because it says go down, and then it'd be telling you the ID in that cubicle. And then, so basically that tells you to go to a node from this node that's over here, but not directly below it. So see how this node here links to a node on an angle, not directly below it. So if you got a node that, now say you want it to have a link over here next after that link, that tells you to go to a node that's below it and not like to some other place like that, then all it has to do is tell you to go down, because you're already in the letter, in the column, and it just has to tell you to go down, go to target ID, whatever. So the way you know in the array that which link you're at, what separates these numbers is that, say it says M column layer target ID, then you're looking for 4 and it begins with a letter. So then after 4, you know that the next 2 would be a link from a node below. Because if you see M and then the next one, that's a letter, then the next one, the 5th one here, number 12, should be a letter if it's going to begin another four characters here. Now if it's not a letter, it's a number, then you know that there should be 2 numbers that tell you to go down and then tell you the ID. So basically, what this basically does is you got this node feature with all these numbers that can keep growing, and it tells you, what this does is it's telling you that it's made up out of these 2, and it's telling you all the ones that it makes up. And so what you do is you run through these from left to right, and it tells you that, and then it tells you the ones it links to. And so if you see 4 characters and it starts with a letter, it tells you to go to somewhere that's not directly below it. And then after those 4, you check if the 5th character is a letter, and if it is, then the next 4 tell you to go to some other node not directly below it. And then after those 4, you again look if the next character is a letter. And if it's not, then these next 2 then will be telling you to go below that node and in the same letter in the same column, and it would be telling you to go, say, down 2, target ID, whatever. And that's how that works. So let's say that you tried full window and there's no success. You shrink it from the right side first, and then the left after, and then so you have the window here and there's no success. You stride over and you find an apple in hierarchy grid. So what you do is you have to basically eliminate that from this so that you don't look at any of those words anymore. And then you just stride this. If there's words on the right side, then you have to know to watch out for those. So say you found a part here, and then you stride this and you find that part, or you make the word edit to vocab in here, and you got these 2 parts. You would use the triangulation rule like this. So then what you do is, the only problem with that is you might have a forward match here from the window, and if you stride over it, you might actually have another forward match. So, and that might give you more bigger parts. So when you do have the window, you shrink it from full window and you're looking, say you find no success, no parts found, exact matches, and you shrink it down to 4 word long window, and you stride it and you got to here and you're here. If you find a 4 word part match, then you want to basically start an array, and so makeup, you just got that and dot, and you just got 4, none of this other stuff here. Then what you do is you add 4, and then this is a division here, and you add where it is in there. Out of 13 words long, it's the 4 word match is at 7 to 13. So 7 to 10. And so it's 7 to 10 you mark here, which goes with the first one here in the array. And so you got like 2 arrays there. And so what you do is you keep striding it over. You don't eliminate that. So you do gotta watch out for that though later. But so you stride it, you find another 4 word part, and so that 4 word part you find is fine. You can mark 4 there again, and you can put where it is, say like 18 to whatever. But if it overlaps with the one here, 7 to 10, which it does, because the next 4 one would be 7, 8, it'd be 9 to 9, 10, 11, 12, it'd be 9 to 12. So 9 to 12 overlaps with 7 to 10. So then that means that you have to start a new array here, second, and you put 4. And then the first one there would be 9 to 12. And then what you do is that that tells you the location it's at in this part we're striding with the window shrinking. It tells you the location it's at. This tells you how many words, say like 7 to 10, which is 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10. It tells you also therefore not just the amount of words, but the words that actually they are, because you can look through it and get the words by asking it for 7 to 10. So what you do then is you keep striding, you add that, you got 2 arrays started now with their attached arrays there. And then what you do is you keep doing that, and you shrink the window, and you start again. You can start again from this side. You can basically really shrink the window and start at any side you want. You could have it here, you could shrink it this way or from the side by 1 word, and then you could stride that way or that way, I guess. I think so. So then you would find a 3 word long part here, and what you would do is that you would add it in both of these here, as long as it doesn't collide with any of these. So that's exactly why I added here 1 to 3 and 1 to 3 and 3, 3, because you have 1, 2, 3, 3 word part found, and it's at 1 to 3 in this whole thing here. And so I added 3, 3, the part found, and then I added where they are, 1 to 3 and 1 to 3. And so far you have this and that. And then what you do is you stride again, and now you find from here to there another part that's 3, and that overlaps. Now, so you would say, can I add that 3 word part on the 3rd spot in either of these 2 arrays? Well, no, you can't, because it's 2 to 4, and 2 to 4 overlaps with both of these 1 to 3. So you copy both of these, and you got 2 more arrays cloned. So now you got 4. And what you do is you basically, because it overlaps, you get rid of the 1 to 3, 1 to 3 here, and you don't have to touch that because it's the same size window, and that's the whole point of that, so you don't have to touch this. But with this, the 1 to 3 and 1 to 3, you get rid of, and you change it to 2 to 4, 2 to 4. And then so now you got these 4, and you got 4 arrays, and now you have it up to here. And then what you do is you stride it over any 3s, and you find a 3 here. So what you do is you add that 3 fourths in line, I think, yeah. Or, well, not all of them have to necessarily have up to 4 in each of these so far. So now, what you do is you check, does the 3 word part found, which should be 10 to 13, does 10 to 13 overlap any of these stored so far? And so then you got 10 to 13, 10 to 13, 10 to 13 would overlap somewhere here, which it would overlap with, 9 to 12s. This one, 9 to 12, 9 to 12. So then that means then that, so you got 9 to 12 here, then you don't add the 10 to 13 part we found. So, and you don't do that here either, but here you got 7 to 10, 7 to 10, and so that's why I added right here 11 to 13, I mean. So that's why I added 11, 13, 11, 13 there. And then you keep doing that, and you end up with all these. Now what you do after that is you look at each of these arrays here, and you pick can be the first one or random. You pick the biggest one. So you got like, okay, they're all 4 going down. They're competing. They're all 4. Then you check here. They're all 3. Then you check here, and then you see that this one's 3, and this one is 3, and this one's 2 and 2. And so you can pick this one or this one because they're the biggest. Because you really only have to look at these two. So you got 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 2. So that one's smaller. So you use the biggest one. It can be this one or that one because they're both the same. This one's the same. This one's the same. So because they're clones. So you can use that one. And then what you do then is by doing that, you have the parts in our little subject here that we took from here, and these parts now that you identified, you want to another thing that I left out here is that you have the size of the parts found. So you got like this one, this one, this one, this one, that one, that one, that one you found. That's the winning one, and you have where they are in there. But also you, after, say you striding it, and you find a window, you find a part by looking through here, hierarchy grid, you also have to get that node feature you found. So you would take its, you take the letter it's in, the column, say 4, A4, and then the layer 3, and you take the target ID, 22 say, and then you'd have them all in order with these ones. So if you found a forward part, I would have it here, those numbers, and then I guess you could separate it by a comma, or you could, because it tells you the letter, I guess you're always going to have the letter, the column, the layer, and the target ID. Yeah, so that's all that is there. And so you just add it, and then you really don't have to add a comma, you can just add them again, and you know how many to count through until you get to the next one in here. And so once you take the biggest one, you're going to do the triangulation rule here. You're going to take these things here where they are in the hierarchy grid, and you're going to, so you got this one, you're going to tie them together. So say you take the first one you found, node feature, the ID, and where it is, a sector A, column this, that. And so that would be like one node feature there, top of the triangle I made there. And so what you do is you take the next one. So you would take the first one, and then you take the next one, and you take the two IDs and where they are, and you would be tying them together. You tie the next two together, and then if there's only one left, then you don't tie that one. What you do is you tie this one and that one, because then it would just be bigger if you tied these two and small one. It's like you got this 5 part long sentence, and you got this one. So it just makes it kind of like more fair to tie these two, tie that one, and tie this one, and then tie these. So what you do then is to tie them, you take the first two, as I said, as we found there. You take, say, you would go to sector A, column 3. Alright, so you're going to take the first two and you're going to tie them together. And so what that means is you're going to take, you're not going to take the first two here because those aren't in order actually, because first one is 7/10. So what you want to do is you want to take the parts like this here, which is like what I show here. And so that means you want to take the first part, which would be in the winning array here, it would be 1 to 3. And then you take the next 4. So 1 to 3 and 4. And then so you want to tie together that part 1 to 3 and 4. And you're going to tie them together. And so the way that works is you're going to want to get these two nodes first and some two nodes, and you want to tie them together. You want to tell each node at the end of their array here which node that they're making up, and you also want to tell that node too also which make it up, which would be the part here in its array of data in that ID node. And then so, but first we're going to do these two that make it up. So you want to tell these two nodes at the end of their array of what they link to. You want to tell it the link it links to and the link it links and the node it links to. And so to do that, you take the first one here. Say it says hats are, so that means you're going to say you got here hats are, which would be like, that would mean that starts with hats, so it would be in the sector H and then R, so hats are, it makes up hats are. And so what that does then is you got it's in the sector hats I'm saying here, so that's what I'm meaning is, so then what you do is same for the tie. You want to get you're going to use the letter it's in the first part. So if you're going to tie together two parts, you're going to like if you're tying together hats are so cool, then you got here say the letter H, you're going to say you got here the hats are, and so you got here so cool, then what you're going to do is you're going to look at how many words it is long, and you're going to take the first letter and the first word letter count, so that tells you, H like I said, and column 3, and then the amount of words tell you which letter to go to, and you make that new node, and then that new node would tell you, like say letter H, column 3, where 10 if it's 10 words long. And then so in these two nodes that make it up, you have to add at the end in the array of what they link to, the ones that make it up and the ones that it makes up. You have to tell it at the end, add a new link to which one it's making up, because you're tying two together to make a new node. So you add in then the data of where you got then that node. So you say, letter H, column 3, letter 10, and so you add that at the bottom. And then what you do is the other node. Alright, so when you were striding this and you found all the parts that you got in we put them in here and we picked out the best one, then you have all the joints that you found in here. You'll have if you pick this one, it might say you have this one, a 4-part, 3-part, 101, all these parts you found. Then you also have the joints, which are those ones that you found. So like if you found a part here that was made up out of 3 words in layer 3, then that means you have that node, that joint. So you have all the parts, and so when you get to here, then you want to tie them together. And so to make that node, say you have this node and this node you want to tie together, you take the 2 nodes and you take the first one, the first word, first letter, first word's first letter, and that gives you the, because you take the first joint that's here, and if it's like, I love blue cats, then if you got I love blue cats, then it's going to be like this, because it's going to stay with the first part's first word's first letter, because it starts with that. So so that gives you, by looking at the first part's first word's first letter, gives you the letter, and it also gives you, you don't have to get the column or the you just have to get that to you don't have to get the column or the letter, you just get that and you got you know to go down. So then to get how many you go down is based on how many words they both are. So say if this one's part 1 and part 2 tied together, say it's altogether it's 8 words, then you know to make a note at below it, same column, same sector, but in layer 8, then if it's 8 words. And then you want to fill in this node that we make. It's 2 references. It would be a sentence node, and it would have its ID plugged into the cubicle. And you want to make the references, so then what you do is to make the first reference that this node will have, you take again the first parts, where you came from, how many words long it is, because it gives you the first word's first letter, sector B. It tells you how many letters the first word is along column 3, and then you have how many words it is long. So from the first part you have where that node is, and so what you add there is basically that you basically minus it from that. So if you're in layer 8 and it gives you layer 4 that node was in, and you minus it, and it says you add into the new node that to go up 4. So that first reference there tells you how to get there, and also the ID. And so when we saved that part, we saved the ID. Then when you make the second reference, you take the second part, and you also have the letter, the column, and the layer and ID. And so then what you do is, in the node we're making, you jot in there, you jot in the letter, the column, and the target ID, but not the layer, because you can figure that out when it goes through it can figure that out, so you don't have to jot it in there in that node, as I said before. Then for the nodes that build it up, they have to know what they link to and build. So what you do is you take the first part and you take where it is, and it will be linking down to that node we create. So you take the second part to figure out how many words longer it's going to be going down, because if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words long and you're already at 4, then you know to go down 2 to make up that sentence, that part, phrase. And so what you do is you jot in there then, you would jot in 2 numbers. You would jot in to go down 2, and you would jot in the ID that is in the new node we created. Then as for the second node, the new node we created, you have the letter, the column, and the layer. So in that node's links, you would add in the letter, the column, depending on what layer this is in. You don't have to go down them all, because if this is in 5 and it's in layer 8, you would only have to go down 3. So then you would minus that, plug it in there, and it would say go down 3, and then the target ID of that node. Once you do this for that, you do it for these 2, and then as said, you do it for these 2, using those new nodes you create, this one and that one. And then you do it again for these, the remaining. You use the 2 nodes you created, that's the joints, and you tie those together. And then you mark the sentence when done, and you mark it in that node feature, wherever it is in the cubicle. You mark it as a 1 sentence. To make sure the program works, we're going to have it stride full window up to a comma and check through each part before a comma or a period, and you'll have it get the letter, the column, the layer, and the ID, or no, not the ID, you'll brute force, and you'll check each. You'll get that part, search for it, and then you'll go to the first ID, and you'll select that ID, and it's links to the ones that make it up, the 2, and then those 2 all the way to the leaves, and you'll save all those words in a thing called check, and you'll check it against that. If it's not the right exact match, you'll go to the next ID, and the next ID, and you'll keep doing that. And if there's no IDs, then you can leave it blank or put something there, and you would you could stop it, but you could keep going too, and then you'd finish. Then that way you can make sure that what you got out of this is an exact match of this, and then display that. The second test is to see all the parts in hierarchy grid. So you would go through every sector. You'd start at a column 1, layer 1, and you'd save into a thing called check, and then you would all the IDs. So you'd save like I said here, you had bin, bun, but, and then you would go to the next column, do it again and again, however many columns exist or layers exist, and then you go to the next one and do it again. It would be like a apple, made those, that. And you'd put commas after each of them after you save a part. Because this would be like a part, one word, this would be a part, 2 word. So you'd have like, in the thing that you create, this long thing listing all the parts, it'd be like, one part would be like a word, comma, and then another part would be another word, and then eventually it'd be comma, an apple, comma, and then eventually comma, I love cats today on the barn, comma, and so you would output all these parts, and you'd see all the parts that are in the hierarchy. You'd see this part, that part, that part, this part. We could save all of the columns already, like if you know that the longest word that starts with A is like 12 letters long, then you could save that, but have that column there, but not for the layers, because you could have layer 300 if you have a build strengthened saved that lasts, that's 300 words long. You can also make a visualization of this as it adds more sentences.